Hey everybody, it's Andrew again, your average jeweler, and I'm back again with what is another controversial question, and yet I'm not always sure why. I'm going to do a little word association to start. Worthless. Valuable. Rare. Prevalent. Diamond, not diamond. Anyways, you might have seen where I was going with that. The point is, if you go anywhere, whether it be on YouTube or otherwise, you can find a lot of information on diamonds, and you also find a lot of opinions. And many of them today that are most outspoken tend to be those that like to talk about how diamonds are worthless, and they don't have any value, and they don't serve any practical purpose, and they're not even rare, and you hear all these kind of things. And maybe you're someone who falls in that category. I hope that you're willing to listen to some of the things I'm going to talk about today, but the purpose of this video is not actually to convince you that you should spend more on diamonds or to really talk about the value of diamonds, but I want to talk today about why diamonds are so expensive. And I know that cost and value are usually closely related. They're not the same thing, and we're going to talk about specifically why diamonds are expensive today. So let's talk. Again, if you're new here, thank you for stopping in. I hope that you're able to learn something today. That's my goal. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button below, please. And also the like button. That's going to help this video get shared with more people. And I hope that we can continue learning about more jewelry questions, more gemstone things. That's what we like to do here. If you're coming back, thank you so much for coming back. Today, we're talking, why are diamonds so expensive? Now, before I get into some of the more basic questions that I want to answer, I think it's important to recognize not all diamonds are expensive. We're talking about this question of why are diamonds expensive? Well, technically they're not all expensive. Most of the ones we're looking for have a pretty reasonable value to them and a higher cost, but let's not kid ourselves into thinking that just because it's a diamond, it is expensive. Now, on to the questions. Now, the very first question, is it all marketing? And the short answer is no. Is it somewhat marketing? Yes. Think about anything that you buy, and marketing has something to do with the value of it and why someone might be willing to pay more for that. So marketing does affect the value. It keeps people paying, hopefully, the most that they're willing to pay for something because they have a product to sell and they want to put it in the best light. But at the same time, it's not all marketing. It can't be. When's the last time you actually saw an ad or commercial for diamond? I know that a few years ago, they were kind of pushing a little bit to try and talk about natural diamonds. And a lot of that was just in response to many of the negative ads that the lab-grown diamonds were actually putting out there. Some of it has actually come back to bite the lab-grown diamond industry because they said a lot of things they couldn't really back up. But the point is, you don't see a ton of diamond ads, and yet many people still want diamonds, and many people still buy diamonds, and most people are still willing to pay reasonably high prices for something like diamond. So no, it's not all marketing, but yes, anything that's sold, you definitely have an element of marketing involved. The next thing we're talking about, is it even rare? Are diamonds actually rare? And the short answer to this is yes. If you think about minerals in general, which is what diamond is, it is a much more rare mineral than most of the others that we think about. If you talk about those cool and interesting specimens or crystals or stones that might be amethyst or citrine or just clear crystal balls, and the fact that these are natural crystals that have grown out of the earth, they are really cool. People love them. People are willing to pay for them. But most of them are quartz. And as a mineral, quartz is way more prevalent than something like diamond is. Diamond is much harder to find, and there is far less of it in our earth than a lot of these other minerals that we think about and that we talk about. So in that sense, yes, diamond is very rare, but let's take it to that next level and try and understand, well, what about the diamonds that we're looking for? And the diamonds that most people are shopping for are far more rare than people give them credit. The diamonds that don't end up in drill bits and abrasives and other industrial and commercial purposes, those diamonds account for less than 10% of all the diamonds that are mined. So after you can actually find all of these minerals, less than 10% of them aren't getting ground up and used in commercial purposes. And within those, a lot of them are less attractive options. In fact, I would say out of that remaining 10%, well over half of it is typically considered the less attractive diamonds by most standards. And then the things and the stones that end up in jewelry stores are your top 5, 4, maybe even your top 3% of all diamonds that are mined that actually end up somewhere like a jewelry store. And you even have other analogies where you think about all the diamonds mined in all the world for an entire year. If they're cut into a 1 carat stone, which a 1 carat stone's not that big, but it is a trigger word and it's something recognizable, all of the diamonds mined and cut into a 1 carat stone or larger in an entire year can fit in 2 basketballs. And maybe some of you out there are thinking, well, that seems like a lot. It seems like more than plenty to go around. Yes, in some senses it kind of is, and yet if you really think about how few of them there are and the number of people that would happily take a diamond if the price was right, you start thinking about, okay, well, there is only so many of them to go around, and not all of those diamonds that are cut into a carat size or larger are going to be ones that people immediately think of as attractive diamonds. So you have that level of discernment to kind of taper things down. All of this just to give a better picture and a better reality that while some people might not want to pay for them and might not see the value in them, just blanketly saying that they're not rare, probably not a fair statement. Now again, as I've already stated, this is a somewhat controversial subject. We're talking about something that a lot of people would never pay for, and that's totally fine. There's a lot of things I would never pay for, but maybe I still appreciate them for what they are, and I'm happy that someone's willing to pay for it so I can be a beneficiary of that. But let me know in the comments down below. I want to know in kind of a poll sense, who out there maybe before and after this video felt that diamonds have no value or that they shouldn't have this cost associated with them, and maybe those that feel like, yeah, I already understood that, I'm in agreement. I like to hear those things. Please share them with me if you can. Now these first few things that I talked about, they all revolve around one big thing, and we're going to talk economics because we're talking about cost, and that is supply and demand. For those of you that have a general understanding of supply and demand, it's one of the most basic value criterias out there. We actually implement it when we're buying and selling almost anything, but we don't always think about it. So let's take, for example, some miner or someone who just manages to pull out a beautiful mineral out of the ground. And he has 10 people around him, and he holds up the stone and says, hey, who wants this? Well, in most scenarios, all 10 people are going to say, yeah, I'll take it. And he says, okay, well, who's willing to give me $5? And a few people put their hands down. Okay, well, who's willing to give me $10? And a few more people put their hands down. And eventually he gets to where someone is willing to pay $50 for that stone. And how was he able to separate who got it? Well, it was our standard trading monetary system. Someone gave him money, and he was willing to give it up for that. Everything is about that same principle. And in that scenario, he had 1 rock and 10 people. And if you want to spread it out over the entire globe, you have billions of people and you might have thousands of diamonds. And it seems like a lot, but the person that has those diamonds doesn't want to just give them away because they probably had to invest and work for getting them. They have some level of cost involved, and they know they have something that not everyone has. So how do you decide who gets what? Well, you have to figure out in some level or scale which ones are more objectively nice and who's willing to pay for that. And that all boils down to supply and demand. Now, the conclusion to all this is I'm not telling you to go out and spend a lot of money on diamonds. In fact, if you don't have the money, don't spend a lot of money on diamonds. But to those that want to blanketly say they don't have any value, that would certainly be unfair. And to talk about why they're so expensive, well, there are realistic and objective and very real reasons why they cost so much. And they fluctuate with most commodities, and they fluctuate with the economy. Diamonds do go up and down in price, and like most things, they eventually go more up than not. You don't have to buy a diamond. You don't have to think that they're valuable. But let's be real about this. There are actually reasons why they're so expensive. I hope that helps answer that question. I hope it brings some clarity to some people. I know there's other things that we can talk about with it. Those are the things that usually come up to me as the most basic, and I wanted just to share that with you. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing below. Just hit the little button. There's a little bell icon so you know when there's new stuff coming out. And please hit the like button. It helps to spread the video. If you have a question or comment, I love to see those. Maybe we'll even see another video about something else where we talk about value or cost. And as always, thanks for coming. I hope you learned something. Keep coming back and we'll keep learning together.